You're listening to the Jules and Coffee Hour, sharing the stories of Blizzard gamers around the world. Pull up a chair. We're glad you're here. Welcome to episode 4 of the Jules and Coffee Hour. I am Jules.
And I'm Coffee, and this is a topic particularly close to home for me, so I'm excited to get started.
Same. And I think we might actually do something that we haven't done yet on this show. Coffee has been willingly participating in this idea, so we'll save it for later, but there's possibly going to be a little life coaching involved. And I'm very excited to do this together because I think it might be super helpful to see it done and also, of course, to help my dear friend Coffee get through some of this stuff. But we are so happy to be back and to tackle a tough topic, which is going to be about stress and managing stress. But we do it in a way that's a little different. I mean, our goal is to tell the stories and talk about the things that are going on in our lives as Blizzard gamers, as a community, as HeroesHearth, as people. We are all kind of just in this boat together. We're sailing down this sea together, and we're going to get through this next couple of weeks together.
It's a stressful time for a lot of people. A lot of people love the holidays. A lot of people hate the holidays. But whether you love the holidays or hate the holidays, it's a time where there's so much going on that you can't help but feel a little stress. And I also recognize that there's so many different kinds of stress. So I think that this will be definitely a pretty decent conversation that we have in store for us.
Absolutely. Again, we want to thank everyone for their crazy amount of support for the show. Like, you guys are such amazing people, and you send us messages every day, and both of us kind of get them in different avenues. Sometimes we see them together. You email the show and let us know. And I am always blown away when someone tells us that they really enjoy the work that we're doing. And this show seems to have really touched something. I don't want to go dirty, but like it's touched something that people have felt like they needed, and that just makes me so happy.
Yeah, the feedback has been so awesome, and I just solidifies, even more so what I already knew, and that is that this is just going to be like a huge part of my life going forward. So I can't wait to create more stuff, more awesome stuff with you, Jules. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, and speaking of creating more awesome stuff, we are going to be kind of doing a little bit of pre-prep work for the holidays this year. So what we will be doing is creating these shows in the next couple of weeks, but we're going to do them all at once and release them over the next 3 weeks because there's a stressful, busy time, and there's a lot of things going on, moving parts, people coming into town, family, things that have to happen, Blizzard launcher things for certain streamers. Can I just say congratulations, by the way? Can I just say it? Because I don't think we've actually talked about it yet. That
you're so sweet.
Made this.
You're so incredible. The thing that's so awesome about it, Jules, is one of the things you and I first talked about when you interviewed me for a podcast, for a Heroes News podcast, was like what some of my goals and roadmap items were, and this was on that list. which is very cool. So thank you. I appreciate it. I love you. You're very sweet.
I love you too. This ride has been one of the most amazing and fun and surprising, and like I didn't understand the power of telling stories in this way. And I like what we're about to do today most likely is going to be something that's going to take a lot of bravery especially on Coffee's part. So there's just a lot of emotion, happy emotions that come around for doing the show. And I didn't put this in the notes, but I did want to include this before we actually go into the topic at hand. And we did get a letter from an anonymous person who wished to remain anonymous. And it really touched me, this letter. I just want to read it real quick.
Okay.
And again, I did put it in the notes. Sorry, Coffee.
That's
I forgot about including it in the notes, and I'm like, I gotta do this.
This is why this is so fun and exciting, right? We're doing this live right now.
It's happening before your eyes. Okay, so this letter from the anonymous writer says, "Hello, Jules and Coffee. I've been loving the podcast so far. Please keep up the good work. I wanted to add my thoughts to the what makes us different as I just finished the latest podcast, and it left me feeling somewhat empowered that it's okay to be different, even in the gaming community we all love. If you don't mind, I'd like to stay anonymous as this I've been shut out of gaming communities before. And if I was shut out of Heroes Hearth, it would just crush me because I really, really like the entire community. I'm a conservative. While I would never follow any politician blindly, most of us don't like politicians to begin with, or our president, or government at all for that matter. My support of most conservative issues of our day has made for some rough online experiences. I've been called a racist, bigot, Nazi, and all sorts of derogatory names because of my beliefs. It's gotten so bad that I hide those beliefs with a fervor that surprised my family and angered a few of them for, quote, catering to the liberals. It's definitely the rock and the hard place as I love hearing gaming news and stories, but then I have to deal with discussions that lead to being ostracized for having a different view. To be clear, I value differing opinions and love discussing different viewpoints because I believe that if we don't have all walks of life represented in a discussion, the discussion doesn't end up with a good resolution. It's hard being shut out of what I love because of what I believe. I've come to terms with it though, and I just want to make sure that if we're being an inclusive community, that we include for the right reasons. We love gaming.
Hmm.
Uh, so this is the that is the I'm so first of all, I'm so glad that our writer felt comfortable to share that.
Oh yeah.
And secondly, he's absolutely right.
It's well spoken. It's so well spoken. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you know, politics is not something I ever enjoy talking about. But the thing I love about this is that it just further highlights what games are
Yeah.
to me, and I think to a lot of us, is just a universal language where this person can come from a different walk of life and social perspective, and I'm sure, he has this great relationship with people because of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that politics is something that gets in the way of a lot of in-person social interaction and engagement.
Yeah.
And I'll say that my friends that I hang out with in real life have the same political standpoints as I do, because
Same.
that's something that would get in the way. But online, that's part of the magic that is gaming, because we can have these deeply personal interactions with people that have different perspective on that. So
Yeah.
that's pretty wild to think about.
Yeah, I've had many interactions with people who are pretty much the direct opposite of my political beliefs in gaming specifically. If you just narrow it specifically down to gaming and just
Hmm.
say we can interact with each other, have fun, laugh,
Yeah.
be silly, be people, be real.
Right.
And that to me is what we have. I think that's our power as gamers. And one of the most important things about doing this show is that we are going to show the differences between us as individuals, but as a community and as gamers, we have strength in the things that we love. And we get a lot of bad raps in the media about the things that we enjoy. Um, and the stereotypes that come with being a gamer, blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah,
A lot of that.
and all of that crud. But yeah. So with that, I just wanted to say to our writer, thank you so much for
Yeah.
writing to us. Thank you for being a fan of ours, and you're always welcome by the fire.
Thank you so much. That was an incredibly uh, brave and just really good piece of feedback, and I appreciate you sharing that about yourself. That's a great piece. Thank you so much.
And with that, I think it's time for us to get into the topic of the week. And
Yes.
I actually have something that says this officially, which makes it so. It's time for the topic of the week. Make it so. All right, Coffee, let's do this.
Let's
the topic
do
of the
it.
week is how do you manage stress? Particularly this time of year, but all times of year. Um, I think it's fitting now, especially, but stress happens at all times of year, any time of year, and any time of your life. So, story time. Like, let's talk about the things that are in going on in life
Let's
with
do it.
stress.
Let's do it. Um,
You can open this discussion.
I will do just that. So for me, a lot of the stress in my life just comes from scheduling. Um, I'm not great at scheduling. I'm even just recently I'm beginning to be better at prioritizing. But even
Mm,
though I'm better at my priorities, I'm still not. I would never say that I'm adept at creating a schedule for myself that's sustainable, because I love to be involved in everything. I mean, any given day or week, I have a million things going on, and then it's further complicated by with a lot of the events and just these worlds that I'm involved in, streaming, Heroes, Heroes Hearth, programming development, um, uh, my family,
mm-hmm.
wife, marriage. Um, there's just it's a tough area to kind of balance things. So especially these when it gets to this time of the year when we're doing family things, and I'm still trying to grow my business and my stream, and be a good husband. I get particularly a little stressed out. It's something that I've never really found a solution to, but I think I try new things
Mm-hmm.
every year and see how they go. Some things work better than others, but it's just something I've always had to deal with. And I would even go as far to say that as I get older, I feel more and more anxious and stressed out, and it's
Yes.
something
Yes.
that I didn't necessarily feel when I was younger. So just something I'm constantly dealing with. I have calendars that I use to organize, prioritize, schedule, but it's hard in these different worlds that I'm involved in. Don't always have a set schedule ahead of time. A lot of
Yes.
it is you're making decisions on the fly in terms of scheduling, or you're being told um, when the next show is going to be, or um, when the next audition is going to be, or when the next time you're going to be on the Blizzard launcher is going to be. Like you don't know this stuff up until very close to when it's actually going to happen. So it's very hard to schedule it ahead of time, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is the unknowing or the not knowing of what tomorrow is going to look like. It's just you're gonna wake up and you're gonna have things to do and priorities, but you're not necessarily sure the specifics of what that's going to look like, and that stresses me out. It just does. So yeah, I've just been searching for different methods on how to deal with that. Um, we got an we got a weight bench and some free weights that I've been using here and there to
Mm-hmm.
try and just de-stress, work out a little bit, and hopefully relax. And that works sort of, but it's hard to find the inspiration and the motivation to do that when you're already so tired and stressed out, and you're
Yeah.
already so busy from scheduling other things. So when do you find the time to do that? um,
Yeah. It's like 100 different plates that are spinning and trying not to let any of them fall.
yeah,
Um,
that's a
something that I've
perfect analogy.
something that I have noticed about you specifically too is that you are very conscientious and never want to let anybody down by not being available or missing an
mm,
appointment. And so that is this extra pressure because we
mm,
share that we share that trait
yeah,
very much so. um and there's a lot of self-inflicted stress that happens when you're like that.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you wind up worrying a lot. And I know, as you said earlier, like I was just nodding furiously, I've gotten more anxious as I've gotten older too. And it just, and stress and anxiety are like they're like sisters. They just like link arms and skip through the tulips because, and it's not a happy feeling to be stressed out and anxious at the same time.
Hmm.
um so you've done exercise for some relief. What other things, like, so Do you notice certain things about yourself when you know you're getting stressed out? Like, can you say, I know I'm stressed because this?
I get very tired. That's the first
Yeah.
sign, is I start to get very tired. Um, I'm also, you know, what's I'm short. Like I'm so tired that I don't even want to spend the energy to talk. So when I'm even just
Mm.
speaking to people, I speak less and very shortly. So it doesn't have anything to do with my feelings for someone necessarily. It could be Joe Schmo on the street, or it could be my wife. It's just I try to convey the same message with very little words, because I just don't, I'm so exhausted. I just am not in a place where I want to discuss a topic for, hours or something like that. It's just,
Yeah.
so that's my first sign. And I am self-aware enough that I realize it's happening. I'm just not necessarily sure how to deal with it. And
Yeah.
it gets worse this time of the year, and just as I get
Mhm.
older. So,
So one of the things that, I mean, we kind of did it already today, is that when you have a bunch of things that happen in your life at the same time, especially now, because you're dealing with a lot of cool, really neat things that are coming your way for streams that you get to participate in and Blizzard launcher stuff, and then there's added fun of having family in the house and
yeah,
disrupting schedule and trying to make sure that you're not inconveniencing other people around the stuff that you would normally do.
right.
um so let me tell you a little story about this one, because I think
Please.
this one was pretty funny. um could probably it was I think it was the spring of this year. Um, needed to record. So I was going to visit my parents in New Jersey. And I live in Minnesota, so it was like a planned trip months ahead of time.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, the day before I was about to leave, I had to participate in a podcast recording that was not my show, but it was who I worked for. And because we had a sponsor that was paying for the episode, so it literally could not be
Oh.
rescheduled. And there was no one else available to be able to record this episode. So I had to fly out to my parents' house with all the gear to
Hmm.
get set up and record. And the kicker is that it didn't start until 11 p.m. Eastern time.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I gently explained to my parents, like, I had it all planned out. I was like, I was going to go up to the bedroom that I was in, which is upstairs, and it was far away from them. I wasn't going to make any noise. And they insisted that I record at the dining room table, which is about like 20 feet away from their bedroom,
Oh
because
man.
their bedroom was downstairs. And I'm like, guys, I'm nervous, and I don't want to wake you up, because like
Yeah.
when I'm podcasting, I'm not really paying attention to the sound of my voice. Like I'm
Yeah,
projecting.
you
I'm
need to be free to do,
yeah.
anything, whatever you need to do.
Yeah. And they insisted that I do this. No, 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 no. Use the kitchen table. And I'm like, guys, it's going to be loud. Like, I'm going to wake you up. No, no, no. Just use the kitchen table or the dining room table. And I'm like, oh, God. So,
Hmm.
which meant though is that my parents were up, and so here's the dining room, the next is the living room right next to it, and then their bedroom is right off of it. And my dad is sitting in the living room watching television before we're about to go live. Like, it's a recorded live streamed show. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to tell my dad to turn his television off because it's picking it up in the microphone,
Oh boy.
and I'm gonna disturb. Like, I was miserable the whole time. They laughed at me the entire broadcast because I was talking. I kept my voice really low because I was afraid. I was afraid to
Yeah.
wake them up and be loud and boisterous and engaged. So they made fun of me the entire episode. It became a
Oh
meme.
my gosh.
And I got it done, but the thing about it was that it was so stressful for me to participate in this and to do this work,
Mm-hmm.
feeling like because I don't want to inconvenience other people. And
Right.
that, to me, and I like, we had talked about this earlier, like, you're gonna have people staying in your home while you
Yeah.
have to work and do this work, and that's not easy, and it's stressful, and it can affect how you do things, and it
Yeah.
sucks.
And it's subconscious too, to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
parents will get here Thursday night. So my parents are coming this week for a week. Then I'm traveling. Then I'm coming back, and then my in-laws are coming. But so anyway, my parents are going to be coming in Thursday, and then Friday morning, I'll be streaming on the Blizzard launcher. So
Right.
it's like they're going to be here, and I'm going to want to be my best self, best version of myself on stream, and it just like makes me nervous, because I want to be high energy. I want to be silly and dance, and normally I get to do that in the privacy of my little studio with myself, and that's it,
Yeah.
and my cats and my dog.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's a whole totally different thing, and I think it's a subconscious thing too. Like even if I just throw that out the window and I say I'm gonna be the best version of myself, and I'm not gonna think about this at all, part of my brain will be thinking about it, I think. So
Yes, because this is how you're programmed too. You're trying to be considerate of other people, and honestly, I think what we do, the things that we do, it's difficult to explain to a parent what it is that we are about. Like you can tell them like mom and dad, I'm going to be loud, I'm going to make a lot of noise, you might hear me like dancing and stomping around in the house, and they might go, "Oh, honey, that's fine."
yeah,
And then they actually experience it and go, "Oh. Oh." And
yeah.
then by then it's too late and
I
they're
mean,
like, "Oh, well, it's
let,
okay. We woke up. It's fine."
let me preface this by saying my parents are the most incredible humans in the entire
Mhm.
world. So my father actually, in one of his visits, actually helped me create my green screen because it's a custom job, totally
Yeah.
custom situation. He helped me make it. So they may not necessarily entirely understand what I'm doing, but they're the type of people that are so supportive and 100%.
Mhm.
I tried to explain to them how to watch Twitch. They don't necessarily understand how to even watch Twitch at this point, but they try to follow me on Instagram and Twitter and stuff to see what I'm doing. So they see
Mhm.
what I'm doing, but they're not, there, for every stream to see the full duration of the stream and see how wild and, ridiculous it can get. So it's not, I know that they will appreciate it. I just don't know if it'll make any sense whatsoever is the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you've also got the added pressure of just taking away the I don't want to say this in this way, but it takes away the momentum that you've put forward because you're having your family come to visit. And this is the most difficult thing about working for yourself and building a community and doing this kind of work is that time off is precious, and
Yeah.
it is also painful to watch your numbers go down and that people you're afraid that people won't
Yeah.
listen anymore. um and it it can't be helped. Like it literally cannot be helped. This happened to us with Heroes Hearth and BlizzCon. Like we had 2 weeks where it was BlizzCon, TwitchCon, reverse that, but back to back,
Yeah.
and we didn't have streams for 2+ weeks,
Yeah.
and then it wound up taking away from the goals that we had set forward, the momentum that we had set forward to try
Hmm.
to make things more productive, and we're still
Yeah.
paying for that now.
Yeah, we're still
Can't
we're
be
still
helped.
rebuilding. Yeah.
It cannot be helped. It's just oof.
It's just part of it, and that's
It's
just another stressor, right?
yes.
To circle back
Yes.
around, it's just every little thing about, not just this time of the year, but about around this business and this what, our what we're creating here is can, be a stressor. So that's part of
Yeah.
it. It's just, and you think about when we, come January, are we going to have to rebuild again from, all of this, time that we're not going to be able to stream or do the podcast and things like that. So,
And this is the thing that I struggle with a lot as a content creator is that you will always be pushing forward, and sometimes you may have to take steps forward that you've already taken,
mhm,
to rebuild, and but every time you do, every single time that that happens, you've hopefully moved further forward so that when the setback comes,
mhm,
that it is a little less, you have a little less ground to have to rerun.
right.
um And that's just the way of the business and what it is, but it doesn't take away the stressors of it. And this is the shitty part of it, is that it can really weigh on your ability to enjoy the moment of spending time with your family for the holidays and enjoying that time off. It is it's a stressor. It's tough. And the thing that I can talk to you about with scheduling is like, we did this earlier today where I said, well, there's three options that we can do
Yeah.
at this point. We can just take the time off. We can, just recover the numbers after everything is done.
Hmm.
We can record on a different day than we would normally record, try to fit it in on a different schedule day. Or we can just front load it, do all the work now, and then take the time off later. And we're going to actually do the
Yeah.
third option, which is we're going to front load everything. We're going to have it pre recorded, and then we're going to release it on the normal schedule.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I usually will deal with my
And
stress.
that was a big thing for me because
Yeah.
that was something that I didn't know was possible. I wasn't even thinking. I was too frantic to really consolidate my thoughts and formulate a plan like that. But me
Yeah.
just kind of confessing my concerns to you, and then
Mhm.
you sitting down and having a chat with me, you laid out what a plan could look like. You laid out options, and
Mhm.
even something like that is something that relieved a lot of stress. I mean, that
Yeah.
was incredible right there.
This is a key point right here that I want everyone to take, because this is a super important thing that I do in coaching a lot. I am a life coach on the side. I do life coaching for people. And the key point is that there are always options. Always options. You may not like what those options are. They may not be something that you would ever even want to do, but there are always options. And so let's use kind of a generic example of, let's say, Coffee, you hate your job. You hate your current job. And you theoretically look at it and say, well, there are no options for me because I need the money. Like, let's say that happens for a lot of people. But when you look at it from a perspective of saying there are options, you may
Hmm.
not like what they do, but there are options. It opens up this side of your brain that turns into something where you're like, okay, so yeah, I could quit my job and have no money. That's a pretty crappy option. I could continue with this job and do what I do and hate it. I could look for another job. Those are three options that I just presented, like right
Hmm.
there. And if you're, depending on what the situation is, there could be more.
Right.
And sometimes when you do that exercise, it literally takes the because we are so good at putting the blinders on and being like,
Just saying,
there's
I'm
no
out of
option.
options. Yeah, there's nothing I
I'm
can do.
out of options.
There's
Yes.
nothing I can do. And then even
Yes.
if you start to lay out, I mean, that makes sense to me. Even if you're laying out poor options, you're looking at the options on paper and you're being like, okay, I actually do have some different routes I can take here. And that right there takes you out of the helplessness mode.
Yes.
And that makes
Yes,
sense.
because you can we all do this. Every single one of us who's listening to the show right now does this. When you look at something and say there's no other choice, there is always at least two options in anything. It literally is. It just, and but it doesn't, we will automatically throw out anything that is painful or we deem as impossible. But when you start to look at the specifics and say it is a possibility,
Mm.
and it can be as extreme as, I can, my car broke down. I can, well, I have no other option. I have to sell my car. Well, no, I mean, I could toss it off a cliff. I mean, like, that's the ridiculous option, but it
You
is an
could
option.
drive it into
And then,
the lake or something.
yeah, and then, but when you start doing that exercise and you throw out the options that make logical, illogical sense, like you just say, that is an illogical choice. I would not do that because it would cause me to be thrown in jail, whatever,
Hmm.
you know, it tends to unlock some of the things that you get blocked in. So let's
Yeah.
do this, I think, if we can, with your scheduling woes.
Okay.
Okay.
And before we get started, let me say, let me just circle back to what you were saying about I do like to say less yes to a lot of things. I'm kind of a
Yeah.
yes guy. I want to be involved in all of it because I want to grow. You know, I never want to be looking back and think, if only I would have said yes to that, I'd, you know, I would have had way more fun, or I wouldn't have missed out on this thing. I always want to be a part of everything, and I know that that's a weakness I have, and I
So
know, I mean, and I know that like that's a good, like some people are probably thinking that's a good problem to have, you know, too many opportunities, and I realize that, and I don't want to be negative Nancy here, because
no, you're
I'm
not.
so grateful and just incredibly humbled by all the amazing opportunities. I'm just at a point where I need to learn to balance better, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into that a little bit more because it's a good thing you brought it up. Number one, when you say yes to too many things, what happens?
I get overwhelmed. I start realizing that I've got two things overlapping scheduling wise, and or I realize that maybe I'm not even able to bring 100% of myself to an opportunity because I expelled all my energy working on this opportunity, and then I start to feel bad because I'm not um, I'm not giving all of myself to any one given thing, and I never
Mhm.
want to be that way. I want to bring my all of me to whatever project it is I'm working on or whatever job I'm working on. So
So the next time that that a situation like that presents itself, where you is it a situation where you would get an offer to participate in something and then another opportunity comes up that would be more interesting, enjoyable,
right,
less stressful? And
but I've already said yes to something else. You know,
okay,
yeah.
okay, this is where the exercise begins. Can the thing that you committed to earlier have any flexibility?
Depends on the situation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
depends on the situation.
Yeah,
It's
I can see
yeah,
your wheels
it's
turning.
tough to think about that. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. And I'll use an example that well, I think it was last Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the launcher, I think, from like noon until 4. Um, literally the morning of, got a call about from my office job. They had this guy had a great idea for an app. Wanted to have a conference call right at 3:30 about this incredible business venture. Could, you know, really drive a lot of revenue to the company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm on the launcher. I don't know, you know, how can I be flexible with that? I mean, so my initial thought was, let's not try to reschedule with Blizzard because that doesn't make sense. I've worked so hard to get here. Let me try to reschedule this conference call in some way. Tried to reschedule it till later in the day, but the guy never got back to me.
Yeah.
So in a way, I kind of just had to say no to that opportunity because this is something I'd worked really hard for, and I was pre-committed to something else. So
And this is a great example that you gave me because you had committed to being on the Blizzard launcher prior to this conference call being scheduled.
yeah,
And so you had a choice. You could have just left the day open, hoping that somebody would magically show up with a cool business opportunity that you would magically need to be available for
right,
at one specific time during that same day.
right,
Or you could have had nothing.
yeah,
And so yes, like the disappointment
exactly,
of that is, but it's also about managing your own expectations of saying you phone me up the same day and expect me to be available at that specific time that only you are,
yeah,
and that's not feasible. That's not really. I don't know how you could make that too feasible all the time. Um, this happens to me a lot because I tell people many times like I have a pretty booked out schedule in advance, and so if you try to get me in the middle of the week. Like, so
Yeah.
sometimes someone will send me a message and say, "Oh, there's this thing going on downtown Minneapolis on a Tuesday night at 6 p.m." And I'm going, I can't. Like,
Right.
number one, it's going to take me an hour to get there because of traffic. And number two, I've had like the three things on my schedule up until that point, and I feel bad. I feel bad saying I can't come. But you talked to me the day before. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't. You can't have it all.
I feel bad too. It's just when it comes to like opportunities through work and stuff, I feel pre-committed to that too because like I'm on a salary. You know, it's like a thing where I'm not working hourly for them. I'm consistently, I need to be available for their needs because they yeah, it's a weird kind of relationship because oftentimes they don't need me for anything, but then if they need one thing, they expect to be able to like reach me, and it's that's stressful because I've got so many other things going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be that. I can't just be sitting around for someone at work to call me. And I mean, and to carry the story on further, we did end up having a conversation late that evening because I streamed on the launcher and then was just like having so much fun that I wanted to carry that momentum further, and I streamed
Mm-hmm.
later. So I did finally reach the guy. What ended up happening is I'm gonna fly to Bend, Oregon uh, next week, 19th, 20th, 21st. So
Mm-hmm.
not next week, but the week after. No, it is literally
Mm-hmm.
next week.
It is
19th,
next
20th,
week.
21st. Yeah. So it's like that's just even more time, my commitment to go up there. And it's happening literally right after my parents are leaving because my family's going to be here. And then I have to fly to Bend, Oregon. And then I come home and my in laws are coming. It was a
Mm-hmm.
trip that I felt obligated to say yes to that I really kind of don't have the time or energy or resources for. It's just,
Yeah.
I feel so out of sorts when I'm trying to schedule things like that. I feel so overwhelmed.
Yeah, and I think about the word I keep coming up with in my head is balance. You feel very out
Yeah.
of balance right now.
Right.
And the thing about the time with the company and like kind of being available at their beck and call. Is there a compromise that you can make to try to alleviate that where you give a certain amount of time available like office hours,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote, and just say I will always be available between these hours and these hours for meetings if you need me, but other than that I am not available because then I need to do my other stuff. Like this is the amount of hours that I will give you every week.
I try to do something like that. That's I try to use the calendar and Outlook to mark off when I'm available. I don't put on the calendar on my Outlook calendar. I don't put I'm streaming to twitch.tv/coffee club _TV. But I do put that, I'm busy, and I make that, public knowledge. But then they're going to be like, busy with what? What are you going to do? And I think part of the reason I've been succeeding in different areas is because I have a certain level of anonymity. I'm not fully transparent where I don't share these worlds. They're not one. They're part of me, but typically one side doesn't know about the other, and that's just that's the way I like it. So
Yeah,
it's not something I want to reveal necessarily. So it's tough.
it
Balance,
is very
tough.
tough.
Um,
You're going to be out of balance for a while
yeah.
these next couple of weeks, and sadly and unfortunately sometimes we have to accept that that is something out of our control. The
Mhm.
holidays, it's out of our control. It's just
Right.
going to happen. It's just it is unless you were like again with the options gonna
Yeah.
like put your foot down and say
Yeah.
no family is coming to visit us during any part of the holidays. It is
Yeah. I
and
mean, there are
that is an
options.
option.
Yeah. But
It's not the most savory option, but it
no.
is an option. And so you've chosen to have family come during that time because this is what families do. This is what they want to do. This will make them happy. This will make you happy.
Yeah.
and it's gonna inconvenience you for a little bit.
Yeah.
So the the mindset thing is something that a lovely lady who is very important in your life actually contributed that to the show.
This is
And
amazing.
yeah, and so the lady coffee, the wonderful lady
My
coffee, said
beautiful, talented, creative, lovely wife.
she sent this letter in, and I took a little bit of snippet out of it. She said, I'd like to remind myself that stress is a result of my perceptions. This does not diminish the feeling of stress, but the good news is because stress is perceived, you can also manage it with your mind. One way to do this is through reframing your thoughts. For example, when my boss keeps piling onto my workload, I always feel stressed. But rather than focus on the negatives that come with stress, I try to tell myself, my boss must really trust me to handle all of these tasks. I'm going to try to complete them to the best of my ability. I've proven myself before and I can do it again. Stress is not always negative, it can sometimes act as motivation. Take a look at what is causing you stress and see if you can possibly reframe it in another way.
Wow.
I didn't even plan that. That just like it just kind of came in there. Just in there. We got an amazing amount of contributions from you guys for this episode, by the way. And she's absolutely right. Like we get stressed out over things, and so like I don't like this phrase very much, but it's something that is true. Like we make mountains out of molehills sometimes. I can't even say the word molehill. Um, where we can inflate the gravity of certain things that are just like, oh my gosh, it's just everything piles on and da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
good at that too, dude. Like I was talking to Coffee before the show about how I am stressing my own self out because I'm setting these expectations on myself that are, I don't know, unreasonable, I
Mm.
guess. Um and it's just a matter of me trying to deal with my own needs to be an achiever. It's like I have this real problem of like reaching a certain point and feeling like I'm not doing enough. Like I should be doing more and more and more. And it's so frustratingly annoying that I do this to myself because every single time what happens is that I do too much. I'm overwhelmed. I wound up shutting everything down, just blow it all up. and then and then I need like an entire weekend to just not talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And I need to not do that. I need to stop doing that. And I got to that kind of like to that point this weekend, and I'm kind of dealing with other stuff this weekend. The holidays are really tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that added stress of trying to deal with this. I call them stupid emotions. They're not stupid emotions, but for me, I'm like, why are you feeling why are you being such a downer and blah 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 blah. And well, it's because I had to deal with my own crap. But I just shut off this weekend.
Mm.
I spent a lot of time just hanging out in different Twitch streams and talking to people kind of one on one. And
I will say that I do take the weekends. I do appreciate a good weekend. I take that time
yeah,
and spend that with Lady Coffee, and that helps me a lot. So I'm glad you were able to kind of shut down for a weekend and really
yeah. I
collect
mean, I still
yourself.
didn't fully shut down because
Yeah.
I recorded a podcast interview and I
So
still
you're
had to
still
do work.
working.
I was still working, but
Yeah.
um and this is a problem. This is my problem right now is that I don't know when to take time off because I work for myself.
Right. So you think,
So,
you could take.
and I work from home, which is even harder. So,
Yeah.
and it's winter, so I don't want to go outside because it's stupid cold outside and I don't want to go outside. And so I will easily just start doing stuff. And then I get snippy, I get
Mm-hmm.
frustrated, I get super tired. And then I just don't want to deal with anybody and just want to nuke it from orbit.
That's a huge part of it for me too, is that I work from home, so it's easier for me to say yes to a lot of things because
Mm-hmm.
I associate the home with work now. So I'm
Yeah.
always home, so I might as well always be doing work on something. And then I know for you, it's probably particularly stressful because you're going through all of this emotion yourself, and then
Mm-hmm.
I think I think I know this about you, that a lot of people just entrust you with things,
Mm-hmm.
and they feel like they can confide in you. And
Yeah.
I think you're taking on a lot of this burden from other people too, because you're dealing with that stress as well, which is, I mean,
Yeah.
beautiful that you do that and you're able to help people through, difficult times in life. But then part of it is, holy crap, how do you deal with your own feelings, and then that of the people you're speaking with, and the you're taking on a whole other burden and stress in that regard too.
Yeah. I mean, it's one 3-syllable word, therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, my therapist is the savior, and the problem is, like, so a lot of times I have my therapy appointments on Friday, and I again do them from home because we do it virtually. So, um, I will come out of therapy feeling like I got beat up by a Nerf bat. Like, I just feel like I got completely
Yeah.
flogged by a Nerf bat. And then there's 25 messages waiting for me for stuff on a Friday afternoon. And um there's a couple things I've been doing recently to try to help myself, because sleep is a real tough thing for me. I have monkey mind. I will wake myself up sometimes. Just my brain will wake me up at like somewhere around 3 in the morning, and just spin, and
Yeah.
it's till 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and I will try really hard to sleep, and I can't. And and then I get super tired, and then I'm irritable, and it's annoying.
Yeah.
So I have been working on trying to just, like, a certain point at night, this is when I'm going to turn everything off, or I'm just going to I'm out, like,
Right.
cuz like Hero Star stuff, we could be going until 11 o'clock at night if I let it. And because we're all
Yeah.
on different schedules, like, so Kai Berries will stream until like 11 o'clock at night, and then she tries to do work after that, and we're all like, no,
Mm-hmm.
like, we're trying
You're
to sleep,
tired.
or
Yeah.
you're tired. I'm up by like 8 a.m. and she's not up until like 10 or 11 in the morning, and so the schedules are different
Yeah.
as we're doing stuff. Another thing I've been doing, and this is something I can talk to anybody privately about to give you more details, is that when things, when anxiety gets really bad, CBD oil has been helping me a lot. And someone suggested it to me earlier this year. I did a lot of research, and I really just said, okay, I'm going to try this. If you don't know, CBD oil is part of the hemp plant, but it's the part that doesn't make you high. That's THC that makes you high. CBD is available anywhere in the United States. You can get it through the internet, and it's like a freaking warm blanket that just like wraps us.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing thing. Like, when my anxiety is out of control, it's like this warm blanket that gets wrapped around me, and I feel amazing.
Hmm.
So, uh, I try not to use it too often, but like last night, I'm like, I need the warm blanket.
Put it on
So,
me.
please.
Get on me now.
It felt amazing, and then it's just like you sink into sleep, and it's just yes. So I do recommend
That sounds
that,
nice.
but
Sounds really nice.
yeah. But I'll be completely honest, Coffee. Like, sometimes I just don't know what to do with myself when it comes to stress. I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm still a work in progress in that, for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's to kick it back to what Lady Coffee says in her letter. She says, stress is relative. We are all dealing with it. Remember, you are not alone. I think that's part of it, is that I just need to remember that we're all going through similar things. There's a variance. It's all relative, but you're dealing with stress just as I'm dealing with stress,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all people trying to find our way through it, and come out better on the other side. And it's just important to remember that everyone's
Yes.
doing it. So
The other thing that I think is important to remember, and it's difficult sometimes, is that when we're stressed out, we don't always think about other people. We don't
yeah,
always think about what other people are going through.
yeah,
And this is something that, you kind of touched on this earlier. Like, I will throw all of my shit aside to try to help somebody else. Like if I could be in a really, really bad place, but if
Mm-hmm.
somebody of my friends needs it and needs time, I'm gonna give it because that's who I am. And so for me it's not hard, but for some other people it's maybe a little bit more difficult to just kind of like remember that there are other people going through stuff too.
Yeah.
And this is something that I see a lot on social media that kind of irks me a little bit. Well, I know that I don't know how to give advice on this, but I just there are certain people out there that I've had to mute over time because it is just a constant barrage of negative energy that
Of
always
what's
comes
going
from
on in
them.
their life, all the bad things that's happening to
Yeah.
them, and like how they feel about it. And
Yeah.
I have a
And
cousin like
then
that. I have a cousin like that.
yes. And to me it's a transfer of energy that's just completely negative that just says, "Well, I'm going to dump all my crud right into your lap and now you've got to carry it if you cuz you
Yeah,
read it." Like
you
you
read
just
it.
read it.
Now it's your. You think about this. You know, it's like I hate that because I mean we've all got some pretty crazy stuff going on in our lives. We're not just gonna dump it all into social media and see if anything sticks or see if we get any um you know, I guess help through that. You know, I mean I feel like
Yeah.
on one hand, sure, like you're reaching out, maybe people will post some comments or helpful um advice or something like that, but it's just such a public platform and it feels like you're just dumping your baggage, whereas it feels like something that belongs to you. You should own it and respect that other people are going through their own respective battles. They have their own challenges that they're dealing with, and it doesn't help
Mhm.
them for you to throw your stuff on people that way. I agree with you 100%.
That's hard for me because I kind of equate it to the boy who cried wolf. If there's a person out there who is constantly putting all of their troubles on social media, like the time when something truly
Hmm.
devastating happens, I may not see it anymore because I literally just either I've muted you or I am passing you by as you've gone by on my feed because I'm just ready for
Yep.
another
Here we go. You're just like,
another
here we go. Scroll right by
yeah.
because yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it like I've missed certain things for people where I like, really terrible things like someone lost their job or
Mm.
something because it was like all you've done in the past 6 months is complain. And so I don't know. There's no solution to that except for what I try not to transfer that energy to someone else. It's even hard for me to do it to my therapist. I mean, come on.
Oh,
This is
that's
ridiculous.
what she's there
And it
for.
exactly. And she actually said to me, she said, "Jules, I, I I am here to hold your shit." Like she just said that to me. She's like, you have my permission to hand that over to me and I will put it aside and after you've handed it to me and put it away. I can't like even
She's the
just
keeper of
getting
shit.
right. Like I don't know how to do that. If if you came to me with something very heartbreaking, it's still a struggle for me to take that and just say this is yours
Yep.
and I'm not going to retain it in my system. Um I mean I did an interview. I recorded a podcast interview with someone recently and they were super nervous when I recorded it and I could tell, I could sense it, I could
Mm-hmm.
feel it as we were doing. We talked about this last week. This is my superpower. This is what I do. And after we got done, I was like, I just felt off. And I'm like, I think I need to go take a nap or something. And so I
Mm.
took a nap. But before I fell asleep, I was like, I had that kind of like between sleep and awake moment where it was like, no, that feeling that you have is not actually yours. That's somebody else's that you're holding on to. So let's take that and push that away now. And then I fell asleep. I was like,
You let go of
okay,
it.
I let go of it. And I cannot perceive that with a therapist, like how this is why I don't think that this is why I don't do therapy because I could never handle it. It would just
Yeah.
be too much.
You just take yeah, because you just take it all with you. You know.
I do. I carry it with me. And so there's many things that people in the community have talked about.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and
This
some of
stuff is
them
amazing.
surprise me. Like Midnight Society says that the favorite way to manage stress is watching a horror movie, which is like the exact opposite of what would
Right.
make me
Doesn't that make you
relax,
anxious and scared and on the edge of your seat and concerned and worried and yeah?
right? Um,
No, not for
SquareFan
Midnight
says
Society though.
playing video game. No, SquareFan says playing video games with friends. Like for the most part, I agree with you. But if
Yeah.
I'm playing Heroes of the Storm and my games suck, then that's not relaxing.
The salt just seeps right in, right? No,
No.
it's but it depends on the game, and again, it's like that's kind of why we're all here together in the first place. Is we
Yeah,
share that community and that language of games, and I think that's awesome. Square, that's really cool.
yeah. Smoochie said I meditate in conjunction with working out. Can you meditate, Coffee? Are you able to do it?
I've tried it. I think there was one time in college when I actually felt like I successfully was at a level where I could meditate. But I was doing a lot of yoga at the time, and I feel like
Mm,
that helps just kind of center yourself, stay grounded and the breathing. But at this point in my life, I can't do it. Yeah, I just
mm-mm.
can't do it. It's not something I can do. It's just my mind just races. It just races,
Yep.
and I have such a hard time slowing it down and settling. It's really tough.
I kind of want to someday. I kind of want to see what I would do if you put me in a sensory deprivation tank. I
Mm.
don't know how I would handle it because, like I said, monkey mind. I can't
Hmm.
meditate. It's so hard for me because I'll spend so much time during meditation going, stop thinking about,
Yeah,
stop it.
yeah.
And it's just like, oh, it's so frustrating.
I think a sensory deprivation tank would creep me out. It just kind of
I
scares me.
know,
Yeah.
I know,
I
but like,
think of
what
I
would your
immediately think of
brain
11
do?
from Stranger Things. I don't know if
Oh,
you've seen Stranger Things, but they throw
yes, I
11
have.
in there, and that's where she's able to really like use her powers and reach out. Was in the sensory deprivation tank, and I just think to myself, "Oh my god, I'd be so claustrophobic and stressed out, and I'd be dead. I wouldn't be able to do this." Superpowers or no superpowers, it's not for me.
Maybe you'll discover a new superpower you didn't know you
That's true.
had.
Maybe the sensory deprivation tank is all I need to become a telepath or something like that.
Maybe.
I
I
don't know.
don't know, but there's there's dozens of different ways that people have shared with us that they give themselves fun, that they relieve their own stress, and everybody's different, which is great, which I love. Um the hardest part of that is that everybody's different and we can't give you like the tried and true thing that's going to be the thing that's going to
Right.
change it all for you. But I think that Fluffy actually has probably the closest thing that I could advise to anybody is, and he says, I find talking to someone helps a lot. It can be someone you know or someone that's just willing to sit there and listen to one vent. The main issue is trying not to keep it bottled up inside and get it out. And that
Mm,
100%, like 100% would agree with that. I'm too famous for not talking about it. And
yeah.
then it just becomes a bigger
Snowballs.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just snowballs into something more. That's such a like simple thing to say, but it's also really profound. I think it's
Yeah.
just talking about it. It will help.
My therapist has also told me this, and I think that and I've done this, and it's super helpful. And that is to write it out
Hmm.
or to speak it out. Um,
Hmm.
so writing it out so I have a blog that I don't publish, and it's basically just a place to keep all like a
Interesting.
diary,
Yeah.
basically. And so I will write in that and just say what is in my brain. And then she's also had me take my phone and do a voice memo and like talk it out and say it. So I'm not saying it to anybody, and then I can delete it afterwards, or I can listen to it, whatever. But the act of actually stating it out loud and putting it into words takes it out of your brain and puts it into another place. And it is helpful. It has helped me a great deal. It's also just helped me take my thoughts and organize them so that I don't feel like it's a tornado or a blizzard or whatever it is
Hmm.
in my brain. So,
That's really interesting. I think that's something
yeah.
that I would be open to trying. That might help me,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, like I made a WordPress blog that it's never published. It's all their just drafts
Yeah.
of blogs. And
Yeah.
I've just written as it like a diary.
Right.
And WordPress is free, so you can
Hmm.
just make your own blog that way, but never publish it. And then you've got them saved to have in case you need to go back and read them. But if you just literally just need to write and delete it too,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been helpful. I just have to remember to do it, which is the worst part. Like I just don't remember to do
It's
it.
like part of the whole issue is you're just overbooked and overscheduled. So it's just a matter of
Yeah,
like finding that time. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
really like what
And so,
Alex wrote here. Alex says, I think it revolves around perspective. If you think it's just going to go away or you'll do something temporary to ease the problem, you aren't being realistic. Stress is the lifelong agreement that you never agreed to. Actively look to fight against it. Openly discuss your feelings. Write about it. Go for walks. Have a sleep schedule and eat well. Seek professional help and get medicated if you need the help. It won't go away. It will always be there, but the resource to diminishing it will always be there as well. Alex says personally he exercises and discusses making huge differences. He's still got a long ways to go, he says, but that's
I'm
just
good.
well said, Alex. I mean, just incredible. I mean, this the acknowledging that it's something that's always going to be there, you're always going to deal with, and to find the tactics that work for you. It's part of. It sounds simple, but part of just coming to terms with that and realizing that is half the battle, I think.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. And I always just say we're a work in progress. We're always a work in progress. It's just going to be this way all the time.
Yep.
And so whatever we need to do for the now is okay. And it may not need to be the same thing that you do 3 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just recognizing the fact that you do get stressed out and it's okay to say, oh, I'm stressed out and I need to do something to help myself. Self care, good stuff. Like, really, for real. I think we credit too much like people working themselves to the bone
Yep.
as a trait of worthiness.
Yeah.
And I am so hard on myself to do that. Like I just said earlier, like more and more and more. I need to be creating more content. I need to do this.
Right.
And I've been spinning in this like vortex of ideas for the last like 2 weeks or so, and I'm not getting anywhere because it's awful. So, and I think we're gonna go into that in another episode of the
Right.
show, by the way. Um, so I think it's time probably for closing thoughts since
Sure.
we're getting up there in time.
You
But
mentioned self-care, and I just want to read off before we move on what Lady Coffee said. She says, "Self-care is not selfish. I truly believe that is necessary in order to live a balanced life. I like to take baths, do Pilates, get my nails done, read a book, listen to podcasts. If you take care of your mind and body, stress can be more manageable. Can be a more manageable challenge. Take some time out and treat yourself like you would treat someone you care about." I just think I overlook that all the time because and part of that is just the scheduling thing. Like I'm barely able to find the time to support others, much less myself. So I'm really trying to find that time on the weekends to not just take the time for myself, but also for her, for my wife, because she's she's honestly the most perfect partner I could ever hope for. You think that a normal partner would be like, oh, okay, you're gonna work at your normal job for 20 hours a week, and then you're gonna do the streaming thing for 40 hours a week, and then you're gonna work on this podcast, and then you're gonna do, it's just like she respects that I want to have my hand in everything, and she really does help me keep a balance. I think I would have driven myself insane if it wasn't for her, and
yeah.
um, yeah, she's just amazing. I can't even like just the fact that she wrote in to talk about this is pretty amazing, and I just love that she wants to be involved in my life and help me balance things like this. So shout out to Lady Coffee.
Absolutely, because I've lived a life with a non-supportive partner in this
Mm-hmm.
kind of work, and I can't tell you enough how precious what you have is. Um, it's amazing, and it's wonderful to see it because this is not an easy life. It is
No,
not an easy schedule. We are not easy people to live with all the time because
no,
content creators are we do stuff to ourselves that
Well,
is
we're
tough.
artists too, right? And everyone
Yeah.
knows what they say
Yeah.
about artists. So it's like, they're just crazy, and they're the talent, but it's that, and then it's also all these other stresses that we've mentioned today. I feel like
Yeah.
we're a unique bunch. We're a unique bunch, and I can't. I haven't had the experience you have to know what it's like to deal with something that doesn't fully embrace and support that. But
Yeah.
I can't even imagine it. I can't even imagine it
Yeah.
because I think I just it's not something I will ever take for granted. That's for sure.
TLDR, it sucks. So
Yeah.
I am I mean, I am so much happier being single and doing this on my own than to deal with that. Like that
Mm-hmm.
is the trade-off that I am more than willing to take in order to, because that was hell. But so treasure that because it
Yeah.
is difficult to find, and this is something that is, this kind of work is very prone to causing jealousy and strain on a relationship,
Yeah.
and it takes a monumental person to do that, and I know that the Lady Coffee is that. So shout outs to her because I'm in awe of her a lot. Like, I really am.
Same.
It's pretty incredible what she does. And so with that, we would like to invite you, as always, to send us your thoughts and feedback about the topic at hand, the thoughts that we talked about, things that we discussed on the show, to podcast@heroeshearth.com. You can also jump into Coffee's Discord server, and we've got a little podcast room there that people
Yeah.
talk about things in there if you want to be part of the Coffee Club community too, because they're a crazy awesome group of people as well.
You
And
can get
so
there if you go to the Coffee Club _TV on Twitch. You're right here, right now. But for those listening at home, twitch.tv/Coffee Club _TV. And there's a little Discord button down below. You can click on that Discord. That'll take you right there. And then, like Jules said, there is a podcast section in there that you can join and keep up to date with us.
yes, absolutely. I will be completely honest with you. I am woefully unprepared, and I did not actually come up with a good story for this podcast to
Oh.
tell in the story section. I don't know what I don't know. Like, I need a topic because
I've
I
got a
don't know what.
pretty good one that just happened
Okay.
on Saturday. Got a
Okay.
pretty
Well,
good
then
one.
let's get
Yeah.
into it because I did not prepare. So we're gonna just have you tell a topic
This
and
is
story
fresh,
and maybe.
fresh in my mind. So
Okay, wait. Let me play the sounder first. Hold on. Hey, Coffee. Tell me a story. Okay, go.
I guess I'll tell you a story. So Friday, I was streaming, and there was a woman in chat that mentioned I've met her at previous events. She was mentioning that she was going to be in LA, and she was going to, and this is I'm talking about Zobot, and she was going to be visiting Tatsuki Chu and Big Scary Duck because they live here in LA. If you guys don't know who Tatsuki Chu is, she's another very talented streamer. She's on the Blizzard launcher now. You guys feel free to go over there and show her some love. But Zobot was going to be visiting Tatsuki here in LA, and Zobot like hinted at, do you want to like hang out, Coffee? Do you want to like go, meet up and chill or something? And my initial gut reaction is yes, because I just want to do everything, right? I'm a yes, yes, yes guy. But then came Saturday, and I'm like in my PJs still. I'm on the couch with Emma. We've got 2 cats and a dog like sleeping on top of us, and we're just thinking to ourselves, do we want to like go out right now, or do we want to just sleep on this couch, play Pokemon, and eat pizza? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yep.
Sometimes it's just so hard to get out the door, to put yourself out there, to make those connections, to do that sort of thing. But we rallied and we went out and we hung out with Zoe, Duck, and Tatsuki, and we just had an incredible evening. I mean, it was amazing to get to know them more, and it was even more special because like Tatsuki and I, that week or this past week was our first like official, Blizzard launcher event, and we share this.
Yeah.
We share this connection that we're kind of growing together, and we're going through a lot of the same excitement, challenges, and just craziness together. And it was really cool that not only did Zobot think of me and Emma, but she brought us together with Tatsuki Chu, and because Tatsuki and I both live in LA,
Yeah.
but we just haven't really connected, at that level yet. So it was just nice for Zobot to kind of bring us together, and she initiated that whole thing. And it just reminds me that, it's tough and it's challenging sometimes, but if you put yourself out there, it can change things for you in the long term. And connections are a beautiful thing. Like that's why we all play video games at the heart of it. But it's even more special when you find that you have a lot in common with someone, and that you share possibly like a deeper connection, like Emma and I do with those three. So just there's the story right there. It's just
I love it.
it was pretty great Saturday evening we had.
And it reminded me of something as you were talking, which is good because now I have a story for you too. So this story involves our friend Kaigiri. Um, Kaigiri and I did a podcast interview for Heroes News. Spoiler alert, she's coming up in a future episode of Heroes News. And she was, so in the interview, we talked about some of the things that have inspired her art. And she started to talk about her love for Kingdom Hearts. And so for me, I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game. It was never something that I had connected with because I was not a gamer at the time when it came out. It was a time frame. There's like this lag of time where I just missed all of these games because in the time in my life, gaming was not really a high focus. And so it was something that I came back to later, and I'm sad that I've missed a lot of these games. Like Zelda is one of them. Kingdom Hearts is another. And so I'm like literally missing the passion that some people have for this game.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And I never wanted to be like, "Oh, Kingdom Hearts whatever." I don't get it. And she started to talk about this wonderful story about how she loved the game so much that it had such a deep connection to her that she couldn't do anything but draw the characters after when she first played it. That was where her art started. That it was such a passion, it was such a love, it was such a need for her to create things around it. And it didn't matter at that point that I've never played the game in my life because I got it. I got what the personal connection was, and it made me think about a lot of things. And I've really worked on this in my own personal life. There's a lot of things out there that I don't understand. Why people are passionate about it, what makes them so excited about it. And a lot of times people can be pretty mean, make fun of things and say negative things and tease other people or make memes about it. And I've stopped doing that years ago, mainly just because of exactly what I heard in Kaigiri's voice, which is this thing means a ton to them. It means something super special to them. Like, people will sometimes go, "Oh my gosh, Beyonce's fans are just rabid and blah, 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 and they're so mean on..."
Blanket statements like that.
Right. Blanket statements about things, or, "I don't understand furries, man. That seems weird, blah, blah, blah." And I've had that mindset in the past, and it had changed me drastically to have those experiences where I've seen people who have really connected to things. And so it was a great reminder for me this weekend to hear her speak about Kingdom Hearts, even though I didn't understand or share the same passion that she did. I could feel her love for it, and it was contagious. And I just wanted to share that story because it was a great reminder to me to never rag on anything else that anybody likes, because there's a reason why they like it. It could be super important to them, and it's kind of mean when you make fun of it. So
100%. And
yeah.
shout out to her too for speaking so eloquently that she could convey that message to you, because I think that's a hard thing in itself, is when you're passionate about something, how do you share that with someone in a way that they can begin to understand what that means? I think that's super hard to do. So the fact that you walked away from that feeling that is pretty wild. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you guys will feel it too. I mean, that whole section is just
we get the inside scoop over here in the Jules and Coffee Hour. We get the leaks.
So good. It's so good, and she tells more about that story, and it's beautiful, and you have to listen to it. So soon, TM, it'll be coming out soon. TM. So there's our stories for the week, which means that I think the palate cleanser has been completed. And I believe that is going to do it for us this episode. And we've had a heck of a time. We went in places that I did not expect we would go. I love that about this show.
I never know what to expect. I think I've stopped trying to anticipate where the conversation's going to go at this point, because I just have no idea. It just goes somewhere totally different. So that's my lesson. Don't try to anticipate. I'm just going to go with the flow. And just appreciate every second of it.
We hope you've enjoyed your time by the fire, which means that we get to play this lovely little tune as we say goodbye to you guys and tell you all the great things about this show.
Want to contact the show? You can email us at podcast@heroeshearth.com. And if you want to connect with us on Twitter, you can find me at coffeeclub_TV, and you can find Jules at JulesRPG. You can also use those handles to follow our personal streams on Twitch as well, and you can be notified when we go live.
You can join us for the live broadcast at twitch.tv/coffeeclub_TV, Mondays at 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. I can't say that word today. Or find us in podcast form on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, and more.
If you like this show and you'd like to support the great entertainment brought to you by HeroesHearth, please consider supporting them on Patreon at patreon.com/HeroesHearth.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time. We're glad you're here.
Yeah! It's a podcast!
Hi, we made a podcast. Did you guys like that one? It was definitely everywhere. We went everywhere today. I was just like, is that Petrelli?
Petrelli's attacking Daisy.
Oh, no.
No, Petrelli, no.
Oh.
What am I going to do with this cat, man? Jesus.
Poor baby.
I just have to hold him, I guess, because he's...
Look how cute
he is! This is Petrelli. He's a devil.
Yeah, he is.
Look at his eyes. He's like, what can I fuck up now?
Oh my god. He's so little. I just want to smooch his nose.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, yeah, he's a little shit.
Yeah. Just attacks your ankles as you walk by and shit like that.
Oh, look at him. He's so cute.
He's a very pretty color.
Yeah, he is very pretty. Oh, look at him.
Look at him.
Yep, he's just going to tear your arms up now.
Yep, here he goes. He's just going to like bite my arm.
This is when I'd be like, no, no.
I have a little spray bottle that I can use to stop him.
Oh, what a cutie.
If I let him go, he's gonna go mess with Daisy Cat, though.
Yeah, you go pick up Daisy.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a good one.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. I said, I was just like, I don't know where we're going, but we're gonna take it there. We're just gonna go. I'm watching the counter on the time that we've been live, and I'm like, oh man, we're gonna keep going, aren't we? We're gonna keep going, aren't we? We should probably wrap this up.
Well, we started late, and I felt bad for that, but I think we finished in a reasonable amount of time, sort of.
Yeah, sadly, I need to go soon because I now have to record another show. Um,
Well, that's part of what we were talking about, I think, is just,
yeah.
busy, busy, busy. But
I would not normally have to do this, but I am pitching in because my coworker is sick, so and has no voice. So I
yep.
mean, I need to come in as a temporary host to kill it and knock it out. And let me actually ping him right now, and we'll see if he's around.
All good, Jules. And never feel bad about that. I did the same thing last week. I went to trivia, but never feel bad about having to take off because I mean we're already pushed to the edge right now. I feel like with just everything we're working on, and but that's part of the whole magic is we're finding time to make some awesome stuff despite
Mm-hmm.
the challenges. So
The hard part, I think the hardest part for me these days is that like my nights just get crazy. And then during the day, it just kind of like during the day can be pretty like I do a lot of like worky things, but
yeah,
not as many of appointments during the day.
right.
And at night, and sadly at night is when um I'm getting like so I tend to be more tired at night because
Mm-hmm.
I've just been working all day, and then I was like, where do I find the energy?
Yeah.
Midnight. I did not see a return message yet, but you could have done that while I was here, so I don't know. I've been talking to Midnight Society about she wants to collaborate with some photography and jewelry stuff. So
Midnight is amazing. She's one of the most talented photographers I've ever met.
I
Truly,
know
she's
I'm
incredible.
having a problem with just being like I have a bit of creative like block right now. I
Mm.
can't seem to push through creative block, and it's bugging me. So I need something to kind of just be like, all right,
Yeah,
something different.
inspiration, motivation. But part of me, and I was feeling that a little bit too, and I'm feeling stressed, like as you know, after that conversation. But it was so cool to listen to all the members of the community just talk a little bit about what they do to help with that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
some of those methods might not work for me. Some of them maybe will work better than others, but
Mm-hmm.
just it's a reminder that everyone's going through the same kind of stuff, and that helped just to consider that everyone's feeling stressed. Everyone feels a level of stress. It's all relative, and I feel better just thinking about that. So
Yeah, I feel like I'm just sometimes there's a very isolating feeling sometimes when you're stressed out,
mm-hmm.
and the beauty of podcasting, and that I've done this for as many years that I know this, but I don't always remember it, is that podcasting most of the time when you're talking about stuff that like we do is that it really does help people understand that you're not alone,
Yeah,
and that you're not the only one going through this.
yeah,
um like for me, I just and sometimes like so just hearing it from somebody else, and hearing their story takes me away from like, oh, okay, I can get through this, like I can deal with that, or I can work it out. um my balance sometimes is just like I can't take on anybody else more than a certain number of people's stuff, and they'll just
right.
kind of like the social media thing I was talking about earlier. Sometimes I'm just like,
I
I cannot
cannot.
read it. I
I
cannot.
cannot.
I've muted so many damn people lately just because I can't. I just can't. Like I can't deal, and it's just I call that self-care, and I have to just remember that, and I have to remember that it's not a guilt thing, but I wind up getting a guilt thing. Like I feel bad.
Darth Bane says, I've been focusing on the process as opposed to outcome with creativity in my life lately. That has helped me a lot with writing and creativity. 100%,
Yeah,
Bane. That's
I love that.
such a good way to look at it.
Yeah, like so creating jewelry for me lately has been tough because I can't seem to break out of the color combinations that I always seem to gravitate towards.
Hmm.
There's like 4 or 5 different color combinations that I will always just say, I love that color combination, and I just make it. And then I stress myself out saying, well, is that dumb? Because I made that already, or I did that color
Hmm.
combination already. Does anybody want like I don't know. This is welcome to the insight into my mind. I'm so mean to myself.
Aren't we all though? I mean,
uh,
we are our biggest critics. I mean,
yeah.
and if we weren't, we wouldn't be able to make cool stuff because it would just be a bunch of people telling each other how awesome they are, and not
Yeah.
how to be better.
Yeah. When I break through blocks, it's just like, oh, like,
Yeah.
stuff like this happens, and then you're just like, you feel like you're on top of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in it, ugh, yeah.
Midnight says Nate and I have been focusing on that with working out and eating better because we always give up when it doesn't work. So yeah, you better define like you think about the process instead of the outcome. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just hard to
It's
get
tough.
started on something like that. It's so hard to get started. I mean, that's part
It
of it for
is.
me, and maybe for you too, Jules, with your creative situation. But it's just like the initial motivation to come up with the idea or begin the process is really tough for me sometimes.
I have a lot of ideas. I always have ideas. And then it's the actual doing of the idea.
Oh, the
Because
execution.
yeah, and it's not that I don't have the ability to execute it. It's that I fear that I'm not going to complete it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's my Myers-Briggs? I'm an INTP.
The best
I
time
am
to
an
start
I.
eating healthy is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I'm a Leo and an ENFP. Yeah. I have you are too, Darth Bane. Um yeah, I have a bazillion ideas, and my biggest fear and things holding me back is that I'm going to just that I'll have bright shiny syndrome, and then I'll do something and that it will, because I do this sometimes where I'll just be like super excited about something and I gotta
Mm-hmm.
throw everything into it, and then I lose interest in it because I didn't really think it through, and so now I'm super like sensitive to that. Like I want to make sure that I'm not setting these massive expectations on something.
Right.
And yeah, it's tough. So it's
Vaping
tough.
Fluffy's
That's
been
you
working
too?
out a lot. I know. Vaping Fluffy's been going hard. Said it was hard for me the
Good.
first 3 weeks, and now he's been working out for months. He's
Mm-hmm.
been going super hard.
Good for you,
Um,
Fluffy, because that
yeah.
is not easy. Smoochie's gonna kick your ass. Yes.
Yeah, Smoochie's going to show you some crazy stuff. That man is built like a rock,
Yeah.
a very
All
smoothie
right,
rock.
lovely people. I wish I could stay here and talk to you forever. I do. I gotta go though.
Yes, we will say goodnight. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sending in the letters and just being in chat and supporting the podcast. I love you all so, so much. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow around noon, and I'll be streaming Here's the Storm. But we will say goodnight to you. Good night, all. Bye.
Bye, guys.